lawsuit filed or administrative proceeding regardless of where such action is filed upon assignment by Lassen. What you're giving Mr. Burns is the right to use this firm not only for child protective services, which is presented to the public and you as why they need it, but it can also be used to protect you personally. And I have no problem with that if you're up front with it. If you're being sued all the time, it's public record on what firm is representing the county, and you have many, a lot through JPA. But this, I'm just telling you, this is an unusual clause. And it's going to be used. You've never hired a county council ever that was competent in litigating. It's always handed off to these little firms. And the public is never really aware how many lawsuits are against you. And it's unfortunate that the people sue you. And they lose most of the time. And that because you have unlimited resources to file a harassment case or a discrimination case or wrongful termination. You have unlimited funds. But this clause in this contract is odd because it's so easily, and I can tell you from the cases I've read and the contracts I've read on your legal services this will be abused.
Okay, thank you, James.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just comment, I don't find it odd at all. I find it something that would be probably standard language in most contracts when we have outside services being rendered. Because in this particular case, it's this individual standing before the judge and is making a case, and the question is who do you represent, and not being an hourly employee. I mean, basically they're a contract employee. I think that they have to have standing, and the way they have standing is with clauses like this here, that when they're functioning in the capacity that they're functioning as our agent, as our representative, and it clearly defines it. So their standing cannot be challenged or questioned by others. And so, in essence, whether it's Mr. Burns standing before the judge or whatever the appropriate body that the representation has taken place with the administrative law judge, whatever, that they are indeed representing us. And so I think it is something that's consistent.
Any more comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, we have a motion.
I move we approve the contract.
Second.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Ayes have it. Going to H3.
Mr. Chairman, item H3 is my recommendation to adopt a couple of resolutions. The first being one in the support of long-term funding of the federal payment in lieu of taxes program. As the board is well aware, that's a significant component of the annual budget, and this resolution simply supports the long-term funding of that. The second resolution in your packet is also urging the reauthorization of the Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act of 2000. Similar issue there. We're recommending that funding be continued. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to address them.
Questions on the board?
I really don't have any questions, but this kind of comes through the RCRC, so it'll be good because I got to go down there tomorrow so they can compile all these for help get their veteran deal. The only bad thing about this specifically is I don't know if it would really matter to put it in here, but in the Secure Rules and Schools Act, that there's no more sawmills in Lassen or Rock County. Look at our logging companies, disappeared all because of the environmental rules, and that was one of the reasons why we went to this was to get big kids off the soccer blocks. Anyway, they succeeded. They're taking the money away now too. So hopefully this will get passed and built. I would have to approve it too.
I'd second the motion. Another comment, I just, I think it's important that we understand and appreciate that, especially with the PILT monies, but I think it's also true with secure rural schools. That was initially set up for a definitive time period that has been met, and now we're going beyond that. So it's basically a month-to-month kind of an arrangement, or year-to-year kind of an arrangement as far as Congress is dependent upon congressional appropriations for maintaining funding. So PILT has always been dependent upon appropriation. The law was passed back in the 70s. It's there. The government recognizes the relationship and responsibility to be a property taxpayer like anyone else to support the functioning of local government. But whether they choose to pay the bill or not is dependent upon a year-to-year action, and it's their appropriation. For probably the first 20 years under the PILT program, we were lucky if we got 40 cents on the dollar. There were a couple years we didn't get anything, and other years we got a little bit more. In recent years, because they see that as an opportunity to flow money back through to the local budgets, they've actually kind of ramped up. I mean, it started during the Clinton years, and they took us up to about 60 cents on the dollar, and during the Bush years, it went up to about 70-75%. After the collapse of the economy and the housing market and so forth, and the Great Recession that hit us, they had stimulus type programs that they were putting money in to try to generate activity. But another portal that they had was this PILT thing, and we've actually, a normal funding for us should be in the neighborhood of about 100% funding, about 1.2 million. Last year we got like $4,000 shy of 1.8 million, so they're ramped it up to about 125, 130, 40%. And so the reason why that has been there is because of the successful lobbying of NACO and WEIR and CSAC and RCRC and the Oregon counties. Oregon is probably a much bigger dependency on these kind of funds to operate their local government system, and so they are back there in Congress, and that's what this resolution is about, and is to let them know the importance of maintaining that commitment. So whether we get 100% funding or we get some funding. Now, it's interesting in that defense bill, or that $1 trillion thing that they passed back in late November, early December, the old Congress actually funded $430 million or something, which is about 50% funding. And what we're now going back to the mat for is to try to get the rest of that funding through an action sometime later this spring, so that come June 30th, hopefully we can have a bigger chip. We're definitely going to get something, but are we going to get the amount that we've been enjoying in recent years? So I think it's something that we really need to be focused on, because it's an important funding source. The $1.8 million is about the equivalence of half of our property tax revenue that we receive from our local taxpayers.
Okay, any more discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Ayes have it. Thank you. We'll go to information to the Board of Supervisors.
Mr. Chairman, two items. Last Friday, I attended a CSAC Institute seminar on new groundwater legislation in Sacramento. Everybody's still kind of interpreting how that is going to be implemented. It was interesting to note that some of the Central Valley counties that were represented there really have a sincere concern about the overdraft of their groundwater basins, and are going to need to deal with that. I'm not sure that we have those same concerns, but they seem to be very tuned into that, and looking forward to dealing with that. The other item I wanted to mention to the board is that this Thursday I'll be attending Tim Delme's Center. That's all I have.
Did you get an idea what priority basin this would be? High, medium, or low? I'm assuming we're low.
Low.
Which means we're not up against the gun
like some of the others.
All right.
Well, there's a small part of us up where Aaron's at that's in that medium.
Medium.
Yeah, they're in the medium category, but about 80% of Lassen is in low.
I think they were obliged to post by January 31, I believe, a formalized identification of all of the groundwater basins and what priority under the new legislation they have tagged to them. And although the suspicion was, if I got this right, the suspicion was, after legislation came out, that they were going to connect the same labels as did the cash gem report. I think they actually came out and did do that formally. And as Supervisor Chapman correctly points out, that I think all of the groundwater basins in Lassen County, short of the one up in the Pitt River area, are identified as either low or very low.
That's because those groundwater basins are on the east slope, and the east slope doesn't drain into the Central Valley and provide the main water source. So even if they were to capture any benefit, unless they're going to pipe it up and over the mountain, which is to date something that hasn't been deemed feasible, but doesn't mean down the road they won't make it feasible. Unfortunately, Pitt River runs through where Aaron's at is on the west slope, and so anything that drains into the west slope areas are the ones. And we have a small area of Clear Creek there, just westward Clear Creek is.
But actually, Goodrich Creek eventually makes it to the ocean.
Anything in the Central Valley region within Lassen County, which is about 15-20% of our county, is affected, and that's where the medium category comes from. But everything else is in the Mohacan region, and that's on the east slope, and we're low priority.
Isn't Bob's district in Westwood actually flow towards the valley?
We're not talking about surface water.
Yeah,
We're
that's
talking
surface
about
water.
groundwater, subterranean groundwaters.
But they're tied to the same regional, for the most part, the same region.
Yes.
Basically, the importance is any water that flows to the ocean is where
They're
high priority.
They're middle.
Well, once they get that all dialed in, then they'll start working on the east slope.
Yeah, I hope they don't, but who knows? We don't have a lot of water over here.
Right. There's the two ones we're going to have to worry about is Big Valley, and then we also have the Fall River Valley. Those are the two medium priority basins.
So much of Fall River than I think.
All the Pittsfield, Bow Valley, all that kind of thing. It's not a whole lot, but some. And I know I was going to go to they're having a meeting in Willows on Monday the 26th, and I was going to try to go to that, get a little more deal. But we're going to have to start working on this to get something in order. We're fairly well set up, I think, in the Big Valley just because of the flood control district, which is
Well, certainly.
the water plant. We're going to have to work with the Fall River Basin. I don't know how that's going to tie in. I think that's part of MoDOT and that's part of Lassen, but the majority of it's going to be Shasta.
There are many basins that span the county lines throughout the state. That was part of the discussion, how to do that. One county or another takes a lead for the whole basin.
So do we have a defensible strategy for our groundwater?
Where are we on that?
Well,
Currently,
Yes, we
groundwater
do.
is a property right, essentially.
Well, right, but I mean,
We have a lot of BLM property and stuff
that's not included.
okay.
So even though it's not agendized for today, it is on the list of matters to be discussed in the future. I've been dealing with Mr. Anderson on this issue, certainly had Supervisor Pyle as part of some of those discussions. We attended kind of a webinar. I think it was similar material, but it was earlier on. The point is we want to agendize to provide the update that you're looking for.
I think that would be a worthwhile
But
discussion.
right now, essentially, the water that anyone's pumping out of the ground is their property right.
Maybe when we agendize it, Mr. Chairman, it could be agendized maybe as a workshop, maybe look at an early afternoon thing and invite all the water-related interests to come and sit in and make it more of an interactive thing rather than like some sort of a formal report.
And part of that legislation, it says existing groundwater districts are exempt and I'm not sure exactly what that, maybe exempt not the right word, but they're kind of off the chopping block. And it does list Honey Lake Valley Groundwater Basin, which was approved legislation by Senator John Doolittle, carried in 89 and Senate Bill 1721. That is state law, and it was included in that. They listed all the like Long Valley, Sierra Valley, Honey Lake Valley. It was all listed in the legislation as being a existing groundwater legislation.
Yeah, and that was all.
Management district.
Yeah, that was all in relationship to dealing with Washoe County desires to
that's why it happened.
Why it happened, but.
I mean, it is in this legislation.
But we didn't discuss that at the meeting, but I don't know that the creation of those groundwater management districts in and of itself exempts them from this later legislation.
Well, it was in the later legislation.
To exempt them.
Yeah, I don't remember the wording. I'd have to go back and look at it.
I think the legislation was dealing with the mechanics, and since we already have these basins
Right.
established, they're going to expect those basins to perform just like what they're expecting the
They would
unorganized
expect it
areas.
to be implemented, which 1721 has not been. But the other thing is, I think the low priority, all you needed is groundwater management, which we already have.
A plan management plan.
Groundwater management plan. We do have it. I think that, and we can talk about this at the study session.
Yeah, sounds good.
We're out of agenda items until 11 o'clock, unless I missed something.
Nope, that's it.
Take your recess.
So we'll recess to 11.
Yeah, it's in my ears now.
Give some recognition to some people. Who's the lucky lady to help?
I do. How are you, Mrs.
I'm very hard.
Good.
Okay. What do we want to start off with?
Started with Regina.
Regina?
She's not here.
She's not here.
I'll accept it for her, though.
You're accepting for her?
Actually, our medical contractor is there in town today working with her on trying to set up all the systems and everything that are going to have to be in place, so she couldn't make it. But
Okay, well, we'll let you take care of it. In appreciation for your 25 years of employment with the County of Lassen, we, the Lassen County Board of Supervisors, would like to take this opportunity to present you with this certificate of recognition and thank you for your time, effort, and commitment. And we've got 25 years, that's a long time.
that's a long time.
She must have started work for the county when she was 6.
Yeah,
So I'll thank her for
Exactly.
you guys. Even though she's not here, I'd like to say a couple things about her. Obviously, 25 years is a long time. When we're sitting every year at the Christmas party and people start raising their hands or standing up to show how many years have been there, there's not many people that have been here 25 years, other than Mr. Chapman, of course. But Gina started out as a dispatcher for us. She worked in the jail as records manager, and now she handles all of our finances for the sheriff's office. She does probably, I appreciate all our county employees, but I'm telling you, she does more work than probably any county employee. She's a workhorse. She gets so much done on their behalf. She's always looking out for the good of our agency and the county financially, and truly we'd be lost without her. So
you wouldn't be a good sheriff if you were without.
I wouldn't. So thank you.
Okay, who we got next? Kevin?
He's here.
Kevin hanging around here? Come on in, Kevin. In appreciation for your 15 years of employment with the County of Lassen, we, the Lassen County Board of Supervisors, would like to take this opportunity to present you with this certificate of recognition and thank you for your time, effort, and commitment. Thank you, Kevin.
I'm in the desk now.
You put it on I'm sure they got something to say about you.
Do you have anything to say?
I'm sure you do.
I'm sure you do, though, right, Kevin?
Not always. I appreciate this. This has been a great ride for me. I've had 2 jobs in Lassen County, 15 years at Sawmill and then 15 years here, and I wouldn't change a thing. I may have started this job a little earlier if I'd have been smart enough. But it's been a great ride. The admin has been wonderful. I love these guys. They've been mentors to me. And I appreciate everything. Thank you.
We expect another 15.
So Kevin started in the jail. I think, was I a sergeant in the jail when he started?
Yes.
I think so. I was a sergeant in the jail when we hired him. He worked as a correctional officer for a few years, and at that point in time, we were taking the best of the employees at the jail and sending them to the police academy. And actually, Kevin was part of our pilot project.
Yes.
He and Scott Withrow, who's a sergeant in the jail now. They were the first two that we sent to the academy. They did a great job. They went down to Butte, graduated the academy, came back. We hired them on the patrol. Kevin worked out of headquarters. Scott went up north. He's worked patrol most of that time. Has been a long-time member of our SWAT team. Recently, he took an assignment as a bailiff in the courts, and he is going to be serving in an acting sergeant role in the near future, trying to seek promotion. Kevin's done a wonderful job for us. You know, you have that group of people that are just so solid all the time. You can always count on it. Kevin's one of those guys. So, congratulations, Kevin.
Thank you.
There is 10-year recognition of David Thompson. Not here. In appreciation for your 10 years of employment with the County of Lassen, we, the Lassen County Board of Supervisors, would like to take this opportunity to present you with this certificate of recognition. I thank you for your time, efforts, and commitment. We'll give it to Larry. Larry have something he wants to say here?
Dave's up in our Beaver area. Does a wonderful job for us. Road operator up there. Glad to have him around for 10 years.
Aaron's
Yes, he does a good job.
Yeah. Hopefully he's around for many more years.
He graded my road for me, does a good job.
There you go.
Okay, another 10 years with Priscilla.
Priscilla couldn't make it today.
She couldn't make it?
So I'll accept for her. She had to work last night.
She's got a tough boss or what?
She's got the night shift right now over at the juvenile hall, so she got up at 2 o'clock in the
In
morning.
appreciation for your 10 years of employment at the County of Lassen, we, the Lassen County Board of Supervisors, would like to take this opportunity to present you with this certificate of recognition and thank you for your time, efforts, and commitment. We'll give this to Priscilla's boss.
And I just would like to say that Priscilla's been a supervisor for a while over at juvenile hall. She's one of the more knowledgeable people in regards to all of the regulations and everything that happen over there. And she takes care of all of our scheduling, which can sometimes be a nightmare with all of the people taking off and out on medical leave and whatnot. But she does a fantastic job over there. And without her support, I think a lot of the employees would have a difficult time transitioning through all of their different shifts and roles and everything. So the work that she does is truly appreciated. So she does a great job.
Lorraine Barber, she's not here either.
She also couldn't make it.
She couldn't make it. Melanie will take care of it. I don't know if you got all your employment out here, but your boss is already doing it.
I want you to know you work really hard taking
We
those
know his
pictures.
work. In appreciation for this 10 years of employment with the County of Lassen, we, the Lassen County Board of Supervisors, would like to take this opportunity to present you with this certificate of recognition and thank you for your time, effort, and commitment. Very important. Give us to Melanie.
Lorraine is our med technician at the clinic, behavioral health clinic, and she works with our clients every day when they come in to see the psychiatrist. She takes all their vital signs, gets all the medical history so that the psychiatrist has something to work with, make sure everything's on board. That way they sail in and out pretty quickly that way.
Thank you, Melanie.
Very useful service.
And I'd like to say we got some great employees, and I'm glad we got this program, and I appreciate it. Okay. We haven't even made 11:15. Should have drove that out longer. We can't go early, we can go late. We can't. Anything else? Public comment? Go back to public comment? No? We'll take a recess to 11:15.